Hey Eagle fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Fiddle of Eagles Now. And today, the latest Eagles news and rumors, they're all right here for you wrapped up in one video. And as I said, once training camp starts, a lot of stuff starts to happen. So here we go. We'll start with the first one. And the concern for Jason Peters via an old Eagles, let's just say, starting tackle during the Donovan McNabb years. So Jason Peters, of course, re-signed last month. And the plan is to start him at right guard, which we covered extensively here on the channel. And there are a lot of people in the comment section and the national media are very skeptical about Peters moving from left tackle to right guard. Now, I have said before, it's not easy, right? It's not an easy move over from one side to the other side, but if anyone could do it, Jason Peters is that guy. But now, Trae Thomas, who you remember from the early 2000s Eagles teams, made the run in the NFC title games, the Super Bowl, obviously the other tackle opposite of John Runyon during the McNabb years, went up and spoke about Jason Peters, and he is very, very skeptical, saying, quote, "That's the question, man. To me, he's been in a left-handed stance for 14, 15 years now, and you're going to say, all right, let's switch over, and we're going to move you over to the right side, and oh yeah, we're going to bump you down to guard." I think that's a big ask, especially when you don't have the preseason games, any warm-up, you're not going through OTAs, you're not going through any of that. Now listen, Trae Thomas was one of the better left tackles, or one of the better tackles in the league during his tenure, and he knows what he's talking about in terms of being an offensive lineman. And he's right. It is difficult to go in a left-handed stance to a right-handed stance, left tackle to right guard. It's not an easy thing to do. I've acknowledged that and I've said that, but I think the main thing that Trae Thomas hits on here is that you're getting very little prep and practice if you are Jason Peters. You're getting no preseason games, no warm-up games, no OTAs. You're just now getting onto the football field, and even then, we're in this transition period where you can't even have the helmet or pads on right now in every single NFL training camp. So the hope is they figure this thing out, but let me just say this. If Peters were to struggle, the good news is there are plenty of good backups in place if they need to. Jack Driscoll obviously could play right tackle. You could play the Auburn guy, Tenega Winogo, could be playing right tackle. And obviously, Matt Pryor is the number 2 on the offensive line depth chart there at right guard. So even though everyone, I think, inside Philadelphia in terms of the Eagles thinks that Jason Peters is going to be just fine, they do have some contingency plans if he were to mess up. But right now, I think he is obviously going to start at right guard, and even though he's going to have a lot of skeptics and not a lot of time to get ready to go, we're going to see what happens week 1. I think he's going to be okay. Do you guys trust Jason Peters at right guard? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Type Y down below for yes, type N down below for no. This leads us right into kind of a 2-for-1 right guard news bit here in terms of Brandon Brooks. So Brandon Brooks, you know, the whole reason why Jason Peters is the right guard right now, tore the Achilles, he's done for the year. Or so we thought. So a website called Fansided, where a lot of NFL fans can write about their teams, wrote an article about Brandon Brooks. So normally we'd glance over this, but Brandon Brooks responded to this in a tweet. We'll show you here in a second, and we got to break this whole thing down. Could Brandon Brooks be coming back earlier than expected? Could he not miss the entire year? Well, the Fansided post says this, quote, "The Eagles may have reasons to hope for potential Brooks return. Philadelphia's right guard suffered the same torn Achilles in the last team's divisional round playoff game versus New Orleans in 2019. Brooks returned to the field at the start of the following season just 8 months later after suffering the injury. Maybe the record recovery repeats itself and the Eagles have a generational talent to plug in the offensive line during a title run." Now that sounds great. You go, oh yeah, Brandon Brooks did return quickly and he's notorious for recovering from injuries very, very fast. Yeah, they could plug him in the postseason during a Super Bowl run, right? Well, 8 months does not fit the timeline. I don't understand the calendar this article is going off of. Listen, 8 months down the line, they start football, let's just say in September. Obviously, Brandon Brooks tore his Achilles a month ago. The math doesn't check out, right? Because the wildcard weekend starts January 9th. Next weekend is the divisional round weekend, the 16th. Weekend of the 24th, the NFC title game. The Super Bowl is February 7th. You start doing math here, and the 8-month recovery, which was very, very early, it's normally a year for an Achilles, just doesn't actually add up. I wouldn't have brought this whole thing up if it had not been for Brandon Brooks responding to a tweet that mentioned this exact article. So I guess Connor Miles is probably the guy who wrote the article. He posted the article in a tweet form. You see right here, Brandon Brooks could come back at a rapid pace. Brandon Brooks responded to this tweet in GIF form, which is why we don't have the screenshot of the tweet, but in GIF form, and it's that Kim Kardashian GIF where she's like excitedly peering around the bush to kind of be like, hey, I'm here. If you know what I'm talking about, you'll understand it. If not, it's basically a GIF and a response from Brandon Brooks that says, yeah, this is a possibility. So do we just write this off the table as absolute nonsense and that Brandon Brooks cannot be back for a title run? I would say yes, but then crazier things have happened, and it's Brandon Brooks we're talking about, who again is a physical freak of nature and returned from a torn Achilles at the end of the 2018-2019 season to play in week 1 of the 2019-2020 season. So it's a crazy overall thought process here, but the right guard is obviously one of the big question marks and big things we're paying attention to as training camp, of course, is here, and as we get closer to the start of week 1 of the NFL season. Now, regardless of Brooks being there, even if he wasn't, we still think the Eagles are going to be a playoff football team this year. At least I do. You probably do too. But maybe if they make another Super Bowl run, you can add to your Super Bowl gear in terms of what Philadelphia was able to do back in Super Bowl 52. Now, if you never got your Eagles Super Bowl gear, guess what? I did some research, and they're on sale right now. ChatSports.com/LII, which is Roman numerals for Super Bowl 52, has all of the Eagles' original gear up to 60% off. The hats, the shirts, the hoodies. So they got the hat right now. It all starting at about $11.99. The hat is $13.99. The Super Bowl t-shirt, $11.99. Those Top Dogs t-shirts, my favorite ones from that year, are also $11.99. And then the Pennsylvania Super Bowl t-shirt, $11.99 as well. All rotating on your screen right now, all on sale. So even though it's an older Super Bowl, if you missed out celebrating and obviously repping the Eagles, the fact they did win Super Bowl 52, it's all on sale right now. We have you covered. ChatSports.com/LII. Link is down below in the description box. Okay. More news here on a busy, what was today? Is today Thursday, I guess? And the days all run together. But Thursday here on Philadelphia Eagles now. You probably know this, but LeSean McCoy is not an Eagle, and he didn't sign with the Eagles. He is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. He's going to be one of the running backs for Tom Brady and the new look Bucs. So we know the Eagles had interest in signing LeSean McCoy, and we all thought, and I even talked about it here because there were reports the Eagles had made an offer, but according to LeSean McCoy, the Eagles did not make an offer to Shady. And honestly, this is really for the best, as we broke down here on the channel. He just was too old and hadn't done anything in recent history to warrant the Eagles going out and signing him. So John Clark has a good quote tweet on this in terms of what Shady was asked in his Bucs press conference. He said, quote, "I'm told LeSean McCoy was interested in returning to Philly, and there was a lot of talk back and forth, but I'm told a real official offer was never made to Shady." So it's important to note here that even though Philadelphia was making phone calls and they were talking, and we talked about this on the channel, they never made an official offer. I think it shows that the Eagles are very excited about their current running back depth chart and being very, very young, but having tremendous upside. So the upside of Corey Clement, Boston Scott, and obviously Miles Sanders is just so high, I think, that they're worth risking the downside, which is they all play poorly here going into the 2020 season. The only other running back that is left on free agency, if they really were going to make a move, is Devontae Freeman, but the report is that he's cost too much and that the Eagles are not wanting to spend too much money on him. So with LeSean McCoy off the market, if they're going to get one, it's going to be Devontae Freeman, but I don't see them actually pulling the trigger on Freeman either, unless he just wants to take a stupidly cheap deal and play as the third-string running back for Philadelphia, which he probably does not want to do. I'm confident in the Eagles running back situation. How confident are you? Give me a scale 1 to 10 in the Eagles running back spot. Man, listen, it's going to be Miles Sanders' team, so he's going to be, holding down the fort and getting the majority of the carries. I'd say an 8 right now on my confidence scale for the Eagles running back backfield. Let me know what you guys think down below. Final little thing here, and this is probably the most important one in terms of the Eagles' success going forward. Fletcher Cox, the Eagles' starting defensive tackle, met with the Zoom media, as it is now, because all the press conferences are all teleconferences on Zoom, and he was asked about his offseason and his expectations, and it looks like Fletcher Cox has not only beefed up, he's worked out a lot, he has worked on his first step explosiveness, which is, according to him, going to result in almost 5 more sacks this year than his usual, 8, 9, 10 sack total, at least what he did 2 years ago. This is honestly going to be Fletcher Cox's biggest year, and you guys are going to love exactly what he told NBC in Philadelphia. Before I show you that, though, this and all the latest camp coverage is all here at Philadelphia Eagles Now. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're approaching 13,000 subs, and it's the best place to be if you're an Eagles fan because we only talk Eagles. So we cover the Eagles here from day in, day out, training camp, all the way to the start and end of the regular season. So go ahead and subscribe down below. Here's what Fletcher Cox told NBC Philadelphia, quote, "I was watching film yesterday. We were all in there, and I saw some things I can get better at. I've got to work on those things during training camp. I feel like if I can get off the blocks better, there are 3 or 4 or 5 more sacks out there for me. When you look at it on tape, man, if I would have gotten off a second sooner, it's a sack, just a little things like that. Not only me getting better, but the whole group getting better, end quote, which is true. So here's the deal. Fletcher Cox last year struggled. He wasn't fantastic, but as you saw in 2018, he was incredible. Double-digit sacks, and obviously has been a Pro Bowler year in and year out. The problem with last year, you can argue, is he wasn't playing alongside any sort of good other defensive tackles, so he was drawing the majority of double teams as he's done year in and year out. As a matter of fact, Fletcher Cox has not played against any, or has not played with any good defensive linemen in recent history in terms of D tackles. I mean, you think about an aging Haloti Ngata, he never played with Malik Jackson. There just have not been a lot of guys next to him that could also dominate and take double teams away from him. And this year, you have Javon Hargrave and Malik Jackson who are going to rotate next to him and could all three play on the field at the same time. And I think that combined with the fact that Fletcher Cox has worked on his first step explosiveness is going to result in a very big year overall for Fletcher Cox. There you go. All the time we have for today here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. A lot of great stuff to go ahead and get into. I think that the whole Jason Peters thing will sort itself out as we get closer to week 1. Again, they haven't really started with pads on, seeing how good he can be at right guard. Hopefully he can hold down the fort, but they have contingency options if not. LeSean McCoy not signing, not a big deal. I think we move on from that. I don't think they sign anybody. They're going to keep the running backs as they are. And Fletcher Cox ready to explode going into the 2020 season. I'm excited to see what he can do. Probably another Pro Bowl year for the star defensive tackle. All time we have for today here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. I am Thomas Mott signing off for the rest of your day.